Imagine being born a slave, without freedom and at the mercy of other whims. Such was the early life of Epictetus, a man who later overcame his humble beginnings to become one of history's most influential philosophers. His journey from slavery to intellectual status is a testament to the power of endurance and the pursuit of wisdom against all odds. Epictetus not only overcame the physical limits of slavery, but also overcame the limits imposed by the social norms of his time. He embraced Stoicism, a school of philosophy that taught him to focus on what he could control, the inner workings of his mind, and the choices he made, rather than being consumed by external circumstances. That profound change in perspective laid the foundation for his life's work, teaching others to navigate the complexities of existence with clarity and calmness. As a Stoic philosopher, Epictetus sought certain knowledge, practical wisdom that was not only theoretical but also profoundly transformative. His teachings were not limited to lofty academic discourses, but directly aimed at helping individuals through life's inevitable challenges and difficulties. Thus, he became not only a thinker, but a guide who offered practical insights that resonated across generations and continents. Epictetus' legacy extends far beyond the boundaries of his era. His words, preserved through the dedicated efforts of his students like Arian, continue to inspire countless people searching for meaning and resilience in a troubled world. His philosophy remains a timeless beacon of strength and clarity, offering comfort and guidance to those navigating the complexities of modern life. Exploring the life and teachings of Epictetus, we dive deep into a journey of personal empowerment and philosophical exploration. His story reminds us that true wisdom is not found in avoiding adversity, but in controlling our response to it, a lesson as relevant today as it was in ancient times. Join us to discover the enduring wisdom of Epictetus, the philosopher whose insights continue to illuminate the path to a life well lived. Epictetus had the kind of wisdom that people travel hundreds of miles to hear, even if it was just for an hour or two. He gained this wisdom from his own life and from the Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus, who was his teacher. They sent their children to hear him. The poor, the rich, the powerful, and even the future Emperor Hadrian were told about him. Everyone wanted to sit at the feet of Epictetus and learn from him. Fortunately, we had a young man who often heard Epictetus speak, and he wrote down what Epictetus said. Amazingly, these notes have been handed down to some of the most important people in history over the past thousands of years. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his notebook that he was grateful to someone who let him borrow a copy of Epictetus during his extremely dangerous expedition to the River of Doubt. Theodore Roosevelt may carry a copy of Epictetus. Admiral James Stockdale carried the Epictetus with him as he led fighter squadrons into combat every day in Vietnam. He also turned to Epictetus when he was imprisoned for 7 years. The list goes on, and after watching this video, you will probably understand why and add your name to the list of people who liked Epictetus. He was one of the most intelligent and wonderful people who ever lived. Epictetus said that the first thing we should do is divide things into two groups: the things I can't control, and the choices I make about what I can control. Where do I find good and bad things? In me and what I choose, said Epictetus. He believed that this one skill would change your life: the ability to distinguish between what we can control and what we cannot. The weather caused a flight delay. No amount of yelling at an airline employee will stop the storm. You can't wish to change your birthplace or altitude, no matter how hard you try. You can't make someone like you, no matter how hard you try, taught Epictetus. Further, the time we spend on the things we can't change is the time we don't spend on the things we can. Epictetus said, we can only control what people are doing now. And the same applies to you. Focus on figuring out what parts of the day you can and can't change. You will be happier and have a great advantage over people who do not understand. They waste their time fighting battles they cannot win. Epictetus said, people are not shocked by things, but how they think about them. Albert Ellis, who is one of the most important people in modern psychology, said that this line was the basis of cognitive behavioral therapy. Epictetus said that this is our most important power. Something happens, but we decide that it is unfair, bad, or unsuccessful. Someone says something, but we decide it's offensive, arrogant, or rude. Epictetus said that if someone succeeds in making you angry, you should realize that your mind is part of the problem. Events are what they are, and if you don't like them, that's just your point of view, which you can always change. Epictetus said, "Get rid of your pride. No one can learn what they think they already know." Epictetus kept his eyes and ears open. He was always looking for ways to learn from everyone and everything. It's an attitude we all need every day if we're the best at that, or not what we do or just start. Every person we meet, every environment we are in, every book we read, and every movie we watch gives us an opportunity to learn, to constantly grow. One of Epictetus' favorite questions was, "How did you evolve?" We answer this question by focusing on what we don't know, instead of applauding how great we are. What's the matter? To be good enough for the Olympics. Difficulty can be seen as loss, injustice, or the end of speech. We say it's clear it wasn't meant to happen. They don't want me to do well, so why should I try? Or we can choose. We can train ourselves to see it in a better way, as fuel to the fire, as an opportunity to learn tenacity, patience, sharpness, and fight as a training partner. Epictetus preferred the second option and became the ultimate symbol, both in his time and ours, of how people survive hard times. It's not about accepting or giving up on adversity, he said, but about accepting to work with it, make the best of it, and see it as an opportunity rather than a problem. He said that this way we can change everything that happens to us, and everything can make us better and stronger. Do you know what philosophy gives people? Seneca said that philosophy gives advice. Seneca was born at the beginning of the first millennium, a time of fear, violence, and political turmoil. He needed advice like you. He read a lot and eventually found a school called Stoicism. It started in Greece just a few hundred years ago. Seneca found what he was looking for in the works of the Stoics. They told him how to live a good life. He soon began writing letters and articles to family, friends, and promising young people, telling them about the knowledge that changed his life. He said that nothing, however good or useful, would ever make him happy if he had to remember it himself. He said that having something good is no fun if you can't share it with someone else. Seneca said that there are more things that can frighten us than crush us. He also said that we suffer more in our minds than in the real world. Seneca's life was full of pain, just like life in general. He was born with a lung disease that did not go away. He experienced the first 5 kings, each more insane and violent than the last. He was fired twice and lost everything. Despite all that pain, his suggestion was to just worry about what we worry about. Is there anyone who does not leave his mark on us and unwittingly stains us? We have to think about who we let into our lives. We cannot be afraid to cut ties with old settings or relationships when it is clear that they are not helping us. We should not be afraid to reach out to new people and try to join new and better groups of friends. The stakes are high, Seneca said, because just as some diseases spread to those we have touched, the evils in our consciousness spread to those we care about most. Seneca said that thinking we are waiting for death is our biggest mistake. Death has already changed a lot. Death owns all past time. Like many thinkers, Seneca often wrote about death. In the works of Seneca, he told us to prepare as if it were the last day of our life. Let's not delay anything. Let's figure out our life every day. He who spends every day improving his life, time never ends. The most important thing that Seneca said about the last act of life was that it was not really the last. Seneca understood that death will not happen to us at some unknown point in the future. He understood that we die every day. You have only lived a few minutes since you started watching this movie. Once a day, minute, or second has passed, it cannot come back. Seneca said that it is not that we have little time, but that we waste a lot of it. So he said, we should do only one thing. Live now. So if you take away something from Seneca's works, his knowledge and his philosophy that advised you, so be it. Get out there and live while you still can. Luck changes all the time, so don't wait. Get it now while you can. Part 3. Marcus Aurelius. He was the last of the 5 good kings, and there was no one else like him. Marcus Aurelius studied Stoicism, an ancient way of thinking that originated in Athens at the beginning of the 3rd century BC, with the idea that we do not control the world around us. We only control how we react to it. Marcus was the leader of a world that had suffered for 15 years from pandemics, civil unrest, border wars, cultural decay, income inequality, and many other problems. So it's easy to see why he liked that way of thinking. He said he was like a rash or a burn that wanted to feel better, and that Stoicism was like a warm salve that made him feel better. Therefore, Marcus sought to make the Meditations his only known work, a completely unique and unparalleled record in the pages of history. He wanted to give this salve, this advice, this medicine to future generations. Scholar Brand Blanchard would say that few people care anymore about Roman leaders, marches and countermarches. Lasting Years is the notebook of a man whose real life was largely unknown. He wrote in the midnight darkness, not about the day's events or his plans for the next day, but about something much more interesting, the ideals and hopes of a rare spirit. Stoicism was meant to be a therapy for the mind that frees us from the risks of life and empowers us to do what we must do to succeed. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you have trouble getting out of bed in the morning, you should say to yourself, 'I must go to work like a man. What should I complain about when I start doing chores? I was born to do what I was brought into this world to do. Or am I made to wrap myself in blankets and keep warm?'" This is one of the most relevant parts of the Meditations. It is clear that he and his wife argued about this many times in the morning. Many of us got up, but he wants to stay under such very warm blankets, but it is also powerful. He didn't have to do anything because he was the emperor. You could sleep every day and instantly nothing would have happened. No one would take money from his salary or ask why he was late. However, Marcus told him to get up early and go to work. "Why under the cover there is no chance of fame," wrote Dante in his epic poem. "You don't do anything if you stay in bed all day." Marcus knew that the key to winning the day and life was to win the morning. He knew that even though he was the most powerful man in the world, he still had to obey the laws of nature. He knew that his status meant nothing and that he had to do something about it. When he woke up, he knew he had a lot of work to accomplish if he slept, and that he had lost control and was now just reacting. So it makes sense that if you want to be great, do more and be busy, you have to wake up early. Marcus Aurelius wrote that our deeds may be slowed down, but our goals and attitudes can't be stopped because we can change the mind, changes and adapts to fit its needs. What stops us from acting? What holds us back? Helps us act. What gets in the way turns out to be the way. One way to get through life is to avoid problems by closing your eyes and ears to what's bad. You can choose the easy way and avoid trouble whenever the other approach is the Stoic approach way of the Stoics. We can choose, we can train ourselves. We can see difficulty as an opportunity, as fuel for the fire, as a chance to learn about endurance, patience, grit and fight. We can look at it as a chance to show what we're made of and a way to find out more about people, situations, acts or things. And Marcus Aurelius believed in the second way. He wrote about how a fire turns everything that is put into it into flames. He says that hurdles are better seen as fuel. It's not about accepting or giving up on hard times. Instead, it's about deciding to work with them, making the best of them, and seeing them as opportunities instead of problems. This way we can use the bad things that happen to us as fuel. Everything that happens to us can make us better, and stronger we can turn a problem into a way. Marcus Aurelius wrote that if at some point in your life you find something better than justice, honesty, self-control, and bravery, you should take it without hesitation. It must really be a very strange thing. While Marcus Aurelius was writing Meditations, Rome was attacked, starting a 5-year war. One of the worst storms in the history of the Tiber destroyed homes and animals, which led to famine in Rome. After the war was over and the men went home, they left with them a terrible disease that became known as the Antonine Plague. Many unfriendly groups in the north took advantage of the fact that they were weak from hunger and disease to join together and attack the Romans. The Romans faced plague and war for the rest of his rule, and he faced war and plague. But Marcus doesn't write about any of these terrible things in his notebook. He does say, though, that there is no task or problem so big that he can't use the 4 Stoic principles to deal with it: courage, balance, fairness, and courage, balance, fairness, and knowledge. That is not to be scared, not to give in to our base feelings, not to put ourselves above others, not to get caught up in the details, but to see the bigger picture. He said that everything he went through gave him a chance to show these 4 traits, which made even the most complicated things easy to understand. He said that all that matters is that you do the right thing. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you should always remember this rule: if something could hurt you, it wasn't bad at all. Getting through it and coming out of on top is a great stroke of luck. We all have things happen that we didn't want to, and so did Marcus Aurelius. We lose a business deal, get a grade we didn't expect, or someone we care about leaves us. We call these things unfortunate because they are not what we wanted. This makes sense, since it's good luck to get what you want and bad luck to not get what you want for whatever reason. Is that right? Marcus Aurelius says that we should look at things in a new way. He gave us a different way to look at things. Instead of saying we're unlucky because our hopes weren't met, he said we should say the opposite: no, it's lucky that this has happened, and I'm not hurt by it. He said, not broken by the present or scared of the future. It could have happened to anyone, but not everyone would have been unhurt by it. A Stoic says that we only get hurt when our character is changed. We only get hurt when we give up what we believe in, or when we stop living up to our own standards. Losing money, or a friend failing at something, or being scolded might not be ideal, but how does that make us unhappy? We haven't lost the ability to react, and our spirit is still the same. There's no rule that says you have to freak out, be devastated, or start worrying about the future because of this. No, you're still in charge and yourself, and that's a good thing, because you could die right now. Marcus Aurelius said, let that guide everything you do, say, and outgrow. Think. Inspired by these 12 powerful Stoic lessons, dive even deeper into the wisdom of Stoicism by subscribing to our channel. By joining us as a member, you'll unlock a world of opportunities. Connect with like-minded individuals in our thriving Stoic community, where we support each other on our journeys toward wisdom and resilience. Plus, gain access to exclusive weekly challenges, in-depth discussions, and so much more. Don't miss out on this chance to transform your life through Stoicism. Click that subscribe button and become a member today.